I think in the case of this kind of violence in the current context, some of it is rooted in ways in which people can interpret their own, I guess, unhappy experiences. And that makes it very hard to deal with, because there will always be a few people who are able to interpret their life and the things that have happened to them and the things that might be worrying them, or they might be fearful of, or they might be aggrieved about, in terms of some of these very radical and also conflictual scenarios. And I also think that the way in which the Western countries have interacted with the Middle East has tended to reinforce that for some people. So I think there are some hard questions, even though the vast majority of people are not going to be radicalised. I mean, I think one of the most interesting pieces of, or a couple of very interesting pieces of research, one was research the Charles Sturt University did with Western Sydney and others, looking at Muslim attitudes. And in a way what that shows is that Muslims in Australians are no different to the rest of Australians. You know, in fact, if 85% of Australians think something, 85% of Muslims think that. You know, Australian Muslims think that. They're just parts of our community. So I think that there's that really eliminating the possibility that some young person somewhere will become disaffected and adopt these things is actually a really difficult and challenging problem, notwithstanding the fact that that's not the case. And the other piece of really interesting research is not looking at what causes a person to become radicalised, but what causes people who have exactly the same experiences, the same socioeconomic experiences, the same maybe experiences in looking for work or going to school, have identical experiences. Those people don't become radicalised. And I think that's an even more important question, to say, well, what stops people from, what makes it the case that most people who have these experiences don't end up radicalised? That's a very good piece of research. And it does, I think, seem to be the nature of their community, the kind of support they receive, some of the things that happen at certain times. But we also have to remember that we have to try and always keep these things in perspective, I think. And I think it's a sad thing that at certain times there will be, very, very small numbers of people who adopt these violent methods. And at the moment, some of the more global issues are giving them frameworks within which they can work. But it would be wrong to, I think, start taking measures that can be, counterproductive in this context as well, and perhaps make it more likely that people will feel they're not part of our society.